Right now, somewhere in your pocket or bag, there is probably a coin. You have handled hundreds of thousands of them across your life without ever stopping to ask what actually happened to that piece of metal before it arrived in your hand. Here is the part that should make you stop. Before a coin can legally function as money, it must survive a furnace hot enough to melt glass, a chemical bath that strips and cleans its surface, a pressing force of up to 100 metric tons, and inspections that will reject it entirely if a single detail is wrong. And a penny, after surviving all of that, is worth less than it cost to make. Why exactly does such a tiny, ordinary object need to go through all of that just to become real money? The answer reveals something surprising about what a coin actually is. Let's get into it right here on Small Things. More than a piece of metal. At its core, a coin is a standardized piece of metal. But standardized means something specific and demanding here. Every coin in circulation must be exactly the right diameter, thickness, and weight, made from the right alloy, and struck with the right design on both sides, finished with a surface precise enough that every machine, every bank, and every hand that encounters it can immediately recognize it as genuine. A coin is not just metal shaped to look like money. It is metal shaped to a tolerance precise enough that it becomes money, not because someone says so, but because it is indistinguishable from every other coin of its kind. That precision is what makes it trustworthy. And trust takes an extraordinary amount of engineering to build into something so small. The long road to standardized money. It did not begin with mints, machines, or metal coils. It began with the problem of trust. For most of human history, trade happened through barter or through weighed metals. If you wanted to exchange value, you brought silver or gold and someone weighed it on the spot. The system was slow, prone to fraud, and deeply inconvenient. People shaved tiny amounts from the edges of metal pieces before passing them on. Others mixed cheaper metals into their gold and hoped no one noticed. The solution, developed independently by several ancient civilizations in roughly the 7th century BCE, was the coin. The earliest stamped coins appeared in Lydia, a kingdom in what is now Western Turkey, around 600 BCE. They were made from electrum, a natural alloy of gold and silver, and stamped with a mark that served as a guarantee. The mark said, in effect, "This piece of metal has been weighed and certified. You do not need to check it yourself." That guarantee was the invention, not the metal, not the round shape, the guarantee. The idea spread with remarkable speed across the ancient world because it solved a genuine problem. Greek city-states issued their own coins. Roman emperors put their faces on currency to signal authority. Chinese kingdoms developed cast bronze coins with square holes in the center so they could be strung together. Each culture adapted the format, but the underlying logic was the same: a trusted authority certifying that this piece of metal is what it claims to be. For centuries, the primary challenge was keeping that guarantee credible. Clipping coins, sweating them, and counterfeiting were constant problems that governments tried to solve through design. The milled edge, the raised rim, the intricate engraving, and the precise diameter all emerged not as decorative choices, but as anti-fraud measures. Each feature made the coin harder to fake and easier to verify at a glance. The arrival of industrial minting in the 19th century transformed the process from craft into engineering. Steam-powered presses, standardized alloys, and mechanized inspection meant that a coin produced in one city would be identical to one produced 3,000 miles away. For the first time in history, a country could fill its economy with currency that was consistent enough to be trusted without inspection. That consistency, built into every dimension of every coin, is still the goal today. 7 tests a coin must pass. So what actually happens inside a modern mint? Think of it not as a production line but as a series of tests. Each stage is a filter. Only coins that pass everyone become real money. It begins with raw material. Metal arrives in enormous coils, strips of precisely mixed alloy rolled to the exact thickness the finished coin requires. A punching machine cuts circular blanks at a rate of up to 14,000 per minute. The leftover webbing of punched-out metal is swept up, shredded, and recycled immediately. Nothing is wasted. The blanks face the first serious test, an annealing furnace heated to around 1,600 degrees Fahrenheit. The coins come out intact because the furnace contains no oxygen, preventing any surface reaction. The heat softens the metal, relieving the internal stress built up during punching, making the blank ready to accept a sharp, clean impression later. Coming straight out of the furnace, the blanks go into a chemical bath containing citric acid and lubricants. The acid cleans oxides from the surface. The lubricants prevent the hot blanks from fusing together as they cool. For pennies, made from zinc with a thin copper coating, the acid removes copper oxide without dissolving the copper itself. The cleaned blanks then pass through the upsetting mill, which runs each blank through a groove slightly narrower than its diameter. This raises a small rim around the edge. Without it, the coin cannot proceed. The rim locks the blank into the collar of the striking machine. Without that lock, the metal would spread flat and featureless under pressure. Then comes the striking. The blank sits inside a steel collar and 2 dies close simultaneously from both sides under up to 100 metric tons of pressure, transferring every line of the design in a single action. Standard coins are struck once. Proof coins are struck at least twice for a sharper finish. The final filter is inspection. Coins with any flaw are sent to a machine called a waffler, which deforms them so completely they cannot be passed off as currency. Only coins that pass every check are counted, bagged, and released. The rim is not just decoration. The most common assumption people make about a coin is that its design is mostly decorative, that the portrait and lettering are there to look official, and the rest is just a convenient shape. That assumption underestimates almost everything about the object. Every element of a coin's physical form exists to solve a specific problem. The diameter and weight are set so vending machines, parking meters, and counting machines can verify a coin's identity without human involvement. If a coin is even slightly off in weight or width, the machine rejects it. A perfectly engraved coin that is a fraction of a millimeter too narrow will not work. The raised rim protects the design from wear. Coins are handled thousands of times. The rim takes the abrasion first, preserving the lettering and portrait beneath for longer. It also makes the striking process physically possible. The milled edge on many coins, those fine parallel grooves around the circumference, was introduced specifically to prevent clipping. Before milled edges, people shaved metal from the rim and passed the coin at full face value. Reading made that tampering immediately visible. The grooves also make convincing hand counterfeiting far harder. A coin works not because it looks like money, but because every physical detail it carries is a form of verification that no single element alone could achieve. The design, the rim, the edge, the weight, and the alloy all speak together. Taken as one, they are a language that machines, banks, and people all read instantly. Why coins still matter today? You will find coins doing quiet, uninterrupted work in places that have largely forgotten they depend on them. Vending machines, parking meters, laundromats, toll booths, arcade machines, these systems are calibrated to one thing: the precise physical specifications of a coin, not the design, not the year, the weight, diameter, and electrical conductivity of the alloy. A coin that passes those measurements gets accepted. One that does not gets returned. In the wider economy, coins handle the transactions that digital payments do not quite reach. The tip left on a counter, the donation dropped into a collection box, the change returned at a market stall. In 2023, the United States Mint produced over 7 billion coins for circulation. The demand has not disappeared. It has shifted, but it persists. There is also the question of the penny. A single penny costs more than 1 cent to manufacture, a fact that has fueled debate about whether it should be retired entirely. Several countries, including Canada and Australia, have already removed their lowest denomination coins from circulation, rounding transactions to the nearest available unit. The United States has not yet followed. The penny remains in production, each one costing more to make than it is worth, a small mechanical monument to habit and sentiment, and the difficulty of changing things that feel fundamental. The coin in your pocket has survived fire, chemicals, crushing force, and strict inspection. It still earns its place. Trust hidden in plain sight. So why does such a small object need to go through all of that? Because a coin is not asking to be admired. It is asking to be trusted. Every machine, every bank, every pair of hands that accepts a coin is making a split-second decision. Is this real? The answer has to be automatic, unanimous, and correct. That requires every dimension, every surface, and every detail to speak with one consistent voice. A coin looks simple only because all the complexity has already been hidden inside it. Before it rests quietly in your wallet, it has gone through heat, force, precision, cleaning, rejection, and testing, not just to become a piece of metal, but to become something everyone can trust as money. That trust is not printed on the coin, it is built into every millimeter of it. If this changed the way you look at the coins sitting quietly in your pocket, let us know in the comments what you want us to explore next. We might make it our next episode. Thanks for watching. History often hides in the smallest details.